They said, what you know about us? I tell you everything. I got what you need. Woke up in the store and get what you want. You get what you please. We about to get it.
Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. It's your girl Boujraii here, and today we have a story time. But before we get into that story time, if you're new here, go ahead and click that subscribe button, join the family. We're ever growing over here and it's lit, so like just come on, you won't be disappointed. Now, if you're a returning subscriber, I'd like to thank you for your continuous support, all the likes, all the comments, all the love. I really do appreciate it. So without further ado, let's get into this story time. Now, I don't know what I'm gonna name it, child. The time I went to a girl, woman to woman. I don't know the other woman. I don't know what I'm gonna name it. But if y'all came, then y'all know that this story is about another woman. So before we get into the meat of the story, let me go ahead and give y'all some backstory. So if y'all been following me and y'all have watched my story time about my first time at the strip club, or I slept with him the first night, then you guys have heard of JC before. JC has been around the block with us, and he will be around the block with us a couple more times because we dated for a few years. Now, you know how everyone says high school sweetheart. Who was your high school sweetheart? He was my college sweetheart. Okay, so this was my boo. Okay, this was my man. This was that. Okay. And we started dating our freshman year of college, and that went on for a couple years. Where we went to school, the black community was very like small and close knit, so everybody knew we were dating. Like, it wasn't a secret. It's not like we hid it or anything like that. I was very vocal about it. He was very vocal about it. We were on each other's social media field trips and shit. We was holding each other's hands. That was my man and I was his girl, and we had a lot of like mutual friends. We hung out with groups of friends together. So let me put down the dynamic of our relationship. We were still really young. You figure when you go to school you're about 18, right? We were very young, and we decided that we were together, but we didn't want to like infringe on each other's college experiences. So when we would go to parties and stuff, dance with who you want to dance with, talk to who you want to talk to. You could have friends, you could dance. Like, I'm not that type of girlfriend. Even now, like, you can have friends, you can talk to who you want to talk to, just be respectful. Now, the moment you stop being respectful, we might have some problems, but be respectful, okay? And that's how we were. There were rules though, because, you know, trial and error. We done messed up a couple times. You can't dance for more than one song. Like, if you're pushing 2 songs, you're pushing it, okay? And by the end of that second song, if you don't want no problems, y'all better separate, okay? You better dance with somebody else. And there were certain songs that we danced to together, like Wayne Wonder, No Letting Go, maybe Turn Me On. When them love songs, Genuine Pony and all that shit started coming on, you come to me, or I come to you. Like, that's reserved for our dancing. Like, we ain't do all of that grinding up on other people. I mean, not to them slow songs. And usually it's the end of the night, you're about to go home anyway. So our other rule was like, don't come in after like 4 a.m. Like, we did end up moving together, and because we did go out and go to parties, we didn't always go to parties together, but there were 90% of the time we both went to parties together. But there were times that, you know, we would branch out, and our rule was the sun cannot beat you home, okay? Don't be coming home at 5, 6, because in my head, party was over at 2, 3. So what was you doing? Who was you with? And vice versa. So we had our established grounds. If there was ever somebody that he didn't like, or, you know, he just was like, oh, that guy's trying to talk to you, whatever, then I would kind of like keep my distance, and vice versa. But for the most part, very friendly. He was very outgoing. He was like in the mix, I was in the mix, so we were both kind of mixy. So it was just like, we didn't take that from each other, okay? What I will say is we had mutual, non-mutual friends, if you know what I mean. So like, his friends, I wouldn't say his friends were my friends, but they were cool, and my friends were cool. So it's like, he knew the people I hung around, I knew the people he hung around, and we were both cool with those people. But then he might hang around his people just a tad bit more than I did, if that makes sense. He also partook in some things I didn't partake in, so there's that. But I say all this to say we ended up living together for 2.5 years, I think. We kind of lived together freshman year too, but I had my own place. So it's a fresh year. I think it was our junior year or something like that. It's a fresh year. So, you know, at the beginning of the year when school starts, you have all the new freshmen coming in and then all of the new like transfers coming in. So campus is campusing. Okay, like I don't know if this is at all schools. I feel like any school you go to, the first like syllabi week and just like the first month of school is popping because everybody's getting to know each other, and you know, it's all these new faces. At this particular time, I was on campus with JC, and we were in like our yard unit. I don't know I think we called it our quad, but on another campus this might be like the area that everyone meets, like where everyone sits outside and you know everybody does all their socializing and things like that. So we were sitting there and we see a group of like new students come in, and they were with one of our groups of mutual friends. So of course we're like embracing and like talking to everyone and getting to know everyone. This group of people that we ended up linking up with, there was one girl that stood out to me in particular. It was a group of girls. This group of girls that were new were all pretty. They were all pretty, like all in their own separate ways, but they all had a cute little charm about them. I wasn't sure. Some of their, I do judge in the first 10 seconds. I'm like, I'm gonna like them, I'm gonna not like them. Sometimes I'm wrong though. But I was like, I don't know. Their energy wasn't giving for me. But I was like, I'm gonna give it a chance anyway because, you know, it's college. I might be wrong. I'm young. Like, I don't know. But they were all pretty girls, and they were already getting along with our mutual friends. So I just assumed that this would be one big happy family. We would all get along. But there was one girl in particular that I noticed. She kind of stood out to me, and she was pretty. She was kind of Barbie dollish to me. She kind of looked like a little Barbie doll to me. But I noticed that she was making a lot of passive looks at JC, if you may, like in passing, like he's talking and I could see her gazing at him, and she's new, so you know, no harm, no foul. But in my head I was like, oh, this is about to be a motherfucking problem because I don't play that. I'm laughing, y'all, but you know how young MA says she pretty but she local.
I'm pretty but I'm local.
That should be like the wheels start spinning. And I'm not condoning this, you know, like I keep saying, I was a little younger, madly in love. Like in my head, this is my husband, I'm gonna marry him one day. I need everybody to stay away, okay? But I seen that she could be competition now. She could be competition because she a pretty thing. She was pretty. I mean, I'm gonna always feel like I'm the prettiest, but she definitely was pretty, and she seemed to be very sweet. And we're gonna name this girl Sandra. I don't have a reason or rhyme why I picked that name. It's just the first thing that came to my mind. Sandra kept like making little looks, like, and then I noticed he noticed the looks and started getting a little giddy. And now they like doing something with their eyes, okay? I'm standing right her. I can see everything, but I'm noticing that she's kind of like, you know what girls do, that little cute. And he's kind of like, hey, like, so being that that's my man, I know he taking an interest in this hoe. Alright, that's mean. I shouldn't say hoe yet, but I seen that he was taking an interest in her. So I'm just like, okay. So time goes on. We go back to our apartment, and long and behold, they live in the same building as us. Great. The whole group, okay? No wonder they was hanging with our mutual friends, because our mutual friends lived in that building, and they lived in the building too. The whole group. And I got a whole fucking story time about that group of girls, but this ain't about them. This is only about Sandra. So we all go back to our building, and I'm noticing like, okay, so she lives in this building too, so this might be a problem. So then I tried to make it apparent without making it apparent that we were dating, like, so something subtle, like, hey baby, ready to go, or you know, just throw a babe up in there real quick, just throw it up in there, let you know, okay, this one is taken, okay. That ain't matter. Did say to her, I was like, I mean to him, like, hey baby, ready to go back to the dorm, whatever may have you, or the apartment, excuse me, whatever may have you. He's like, yeah, like he didn't brush me off or anything. Now time goes on, and now it's like, let's say a week into the new school year. Say we're a week into the semester now, and I noticed that they're starting to hang out a little bit, okay? Like, she's okay, so JC had a car, I had a car, she apparently did not have a car at the time, and I could see that like they were hanging out. He might have been like taking her to campus or something like that. I don't quote me on that, but I do think he was like giving her little rides to campus, which campus wasn't far from our apartment. You could have walked, okay? But I ain't that mean. And I noticed that like they were just spending a lot more time like keying here and there, okay? So one day JC came to me, or maybe I came to him. Actually, I came to him. And I was like, so what's going on with you and Sandra? Like, you like Sandra? And he was like, no, but she did make a pass at me. He was like, you know, listen to this shit. No, I don't like her, but she did make a pass at me, and she just be asking me to take her to the store and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, and so you take, I mean, I worked at the time, so like I wasn't always around. And he was like, yeah, I've taken her to the store, you know, like I didn't think it was a big deal. And I was like, it's not. Love you, babe. Okay. So let me tell y'all what I do. I was like, all right, so he taking her to the store. My wheels start spinning. She making passes. Oh no, she trying to swoop in on my man, and we can't have that. Maybe she just doesn't understand, okay? So I went and politely knocked on her door, okay? I knew one of her roommates, so I knocked on the door. Her roommate answers, and I was like, hey, I came in to talk to Sandra. And her roommate was like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, hi, Sandra. And she's like, hi. And like I said, y'all, she was not a very confrontational girl at all. Like, she wasn't very combative, okay? She seemed to be very sweet. So I did go over there, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, but JC's my boyfriend, and I'm coming to you because I don't want to come off rude, but I feel like you're kind of crossing the lines, and he told me you made a pass at him, and I don't appreciate that. So if you didn't know that we're dating, now you can't say you didn't know, because I came in personally told. Reiterate that when this happened, I was young. The me now would never do this. That's his job, not mine. Told you that we're dating if he didn't. And she was crying. I don't know if, I ain't gonna say she was crying about that. I really don't know what she was crying about. She had started to like tear up, but she wasn't crying when I came in there. But then they did say that she was going through something with somebody else, and she was crying. I don't know. And I felt bad because I was like, you know, I wasn't trying to bully nobody. I just felt like, woman to woman, maybe you didn't know, and maybe he's not doing the best job of letting you know. So let me just be honest and be like, I like you as a person, but don't make me dislike you as a person. Once again, I want to reiterate that he should have been reinforcing these boundaries, not me. Because as you'll see later in the story, a man is going to do what he want to do, and the woman going to do what she want to do. So if they going to disrespect you, they just going to disrespect you. So time goes on, and I noticed that she kind of backed off. I think she had a boyfriend herself, or she was messing with somebody on campus. I don't know. I wasn't in a woman's business. But I noticed that she kind of backed off. But every once in a while, I would see like little things, little flirty things here and there. So time goes on, y'all. Time goes on. And y'all, I'm like, okay, I did not end up speaking to her much. Because it was one of those things, you know, like when you know, you know, okay? So I didn't talk to her much, but I also didn't avoid her. She was a cool person to what I knew, all besides like that little debacle. but I didn't think we were going to be friends. So I would speak because she did stay with one of my friends, and because she did live in my building. When I seen her, I would speak for the most part, and I think we did one of our extracurriculars together, but other than that, we weren't really around each other. It ended up being another girl that she hung with that was after JC. Like, y'all, the girlies love some JC, okay? So that girl became more of my focal point, like who I was watching out for. And y'all, if y'all are a younger girl or even an older girl watching this, don't do that. If he gonna cheat, he gonna cheat. If a girl's giving him attention and he gonna soak it up, he gonna soak it up. There's nothing you could do about it. Like, you go to the girl and tell her whatever you want. You could complain to him, but if he doesn't want to respect you, he's not going to. And that's just period point. So then you have to respect yourself. At some point, you have to be the one to be like, you know what? Fuck this. But at this time, that wasn't me. Like I said, I was young, you know. And in my head, I was just like, I'm protecting my relationship. So, of course, I would talk to him. But I'm going to talk to these girls, too. I'm going to let them know. Because I don't play that. Don't mess with my man. Or whatever Nivea said. I was all for it, right? So we fast forward. We probably had a few more issues about this girl. Now, time goes on, y'all. We move out that building. We move into another place together. And it is another brand spanking new year, okay? Shit started really going downhill now. We went from love notes here, bringing edible arrangements to classes. And I had did, oh my God, y'all, I was so fucking Joe. I had did like a love poster, and it was like the word love with all our pictures in it. So Joe, and hung it on our bedroom wall. Ooh, it gives 8th grade crush, okay? That was me, okay? We cooked dinner together. We were this unit, and not for nothing, I was super close to his family. So like, I felt like I was in there. He was super close to my family. If I went home, he would come home with me. If he went home, I would go home with him. I spent the holidays with him. I loved his family, and not just because we were together, but his mother was so sweet, and they accepted me after some trial and error. Because at first they was like, if you hurt my son, you getting kicked to the curb, like, you know. They really like took me in and treated me like a daughter, and I loved it. I was not on the best terms with my mother at the time, and it was just everything. I felt like I had a mother figure in my life, and it was awesome. It was awesome. And then like, just like learning their culture and like the different foods, I loved it. Traveling with them, y'all, as you can see, I was enwrapped in his family, and I loved how much they loved me and like supported me just as much as they supported him. So in my head, this is a done deal. I used to talk to him about marriage. Now, Miss Sandra was still around, okay, y'all? Miss Sandra was still around, but I didn't worry about her because I didn't feel like he was around her that much. Starting to argue a lot more, like, y'all, arguments over nothing, absolutely nothing. Like, it's like starting to get a little annoyed with each other. We were in the house with each other all the time, and then we would be at work, and the romance started to fall off a little bit. So I started noticing that he was hanging with his group of friends that I was cool with, but didn't always care to be around. They weren't. So let me explain something to y'all. When we first met, we met within a whole group of students because we all stayed in the same dorms. So of course we had our dorm friends that all lived there. And that was like, for the first 2.5 years, those were the people we hung around all the time. So those were like mutual friends. We both met them at the same time. If not, he knew some of them from back home, but like, it was a mutual understanding. Now, our second year, he started to branch off and get other friends that like he was meeting from the school. And I don't know if I wasn't their cup of tea, but we just never bonded as good as they were. So like, they were cool. Like, the friends he was hanging with didn't care for me in essence, and I felt like if push came to shove, they didn't respect me or our relationship for the most part. They would play it in our face, but I felt like they would also lead him to cheat if he wanted to, or so right there we didn't always see eye to eye, and I feel like I wasn't always invited to the things that they were doing, unlike before. We're living together, we're arguing, he's hanging around this group of kids more, and we're gonna call them the Ice Brothers, okay? The Ice Brothers that he was hanging with, they had their own stuff going on, and like I said, they didn't hang around me as much. But Sandra was cool with them, so Sandra would be in the picture with them, and I don't know how, I don't know why, but they were around Sandra a lot, and because he was with the Ice Brothers, he was subsequently around Sandra, and that made me uneasy. There's a whole series on Miss Sandra. There's a time when I came home and I found him at her house, a whole series, okay? But let me fast forward and say we moved in together, and he was still around Sandra even more now because we don't live in the same building anymore. She lives in a different building and we live further. Time goes on, and I'm noticing him and Sandra are hanging out a little bit more. So a year later we're arguing, they're hanging out. Time goes on. Eventually we end up breaking up over Sandra. And if y'all want a story on that, I'll give y'all a story on that, and I'll give y'all a story on how I first caught them and all of that. But y'all just need to know in this story that we broke up and behind her, and when not just her, I won't put that all on her. And when we did break up, it was hell, okay? He ended up moving out, getting his own place. I ended up moving out of our house and moving in with roommates, and subsequently what happens, I move out that summer, and when school starts, Sandra lives across the street from me. Now Sandra and JC are basically dating at this time, and now I have to sit and watch his car be across the street at her house. This went on for a couple months in the summer after I moved, or like the beginning of the school year, still the summer, like August, September. By mid-September, I was like, I can't take this no more. Now, when JC and I broke up, me and Sandra had beef. I wasn't letting go that easy. I was pissed. You knew he was we had beef, and we had beef because I was like, y'all were sneaking around and making it known and had me the laughing stock on campus. Y'all weren't even sneaky about it. Like, they weren't sneaky about it. Everybody knew besides me, and I mean, I knew too. I just tried to pretend I didn't. So, this heartbreak has been a couple months. It hasn't been a whole year, but it's been a couple months. And now I'm like learning to grapple and be okay with the fact that they're doing something. They're in a situationship, they're dating, whatever they were doing something. So what I decided to do was, we lived across the street from each other now, and I didn't want it to be weird, okay, y'all? You literally live right across the street. Every time I look out my window, I can see your front door. So one day I'm driving to the grocery store and I see her walk, and I was like, you know what, let me just squash this shit. In my head, I was like, let me squash it. I always, and to this day, have love for JC and want the best for him, right? And in my head, I'm not one of them girls that forgives the man and can't forgive the woman. So I was like, if I forgave him, I have to forgive her too, because the loyalty that was owed to me should have came from him, not her. So I pulled up on the side of her, skirt. I pulled right up on the side of her, and I was like, get in. And just like that. And she's looking at me. Like I said, she wasn't really confrontational. So she's looking at me and she's like, huh? And I'm like, get in, where you going? And she was like, to the nail salon. And I was like, all right, get in. I'm gonna drive you there. And she like hesitated, but she got in the car. And I was like, I just want to talk to you. And she was like, okay. And we talked. I went to the nail salon with her, and then I took her to the grocery store. And I basically told her, like, listen, you got my blessing. Y'all can do what y'all want. Now, I don't like how it started, but at the end of the day, I'm not about to beef with you until I graduate. And I don't want you to look the other way every time you see me. Like, we ain't got to be friends, but there's no beef. So don't sit here and think there's beef. I don't care what anybody's saying around, because there was all these rumors around campus. And I was like, listen, it is what it is. Like, you wanted to be with him, you got him, okay? you got him. And I was just like, I don't know. And she was honest. She was like, we're not dating though. And I was like, okay, but if y'all want to date, I'm letting you know y'all got my blessing, and I'm gonna let him know y'all got my blessing. Like, it is what it is. Sis is trying to glow up and be better. And honestly, I really was. I was like, I need to let go of that baggage so that I can go into a new relationship, be happy, and like find my own peace. So I did. I talked to her. I took her to the grocery store, and then I dropped her off at home, and we were good, cordial. She did would see me, and she would speak for the most part. I would speak, but I wanted both of them to know, like, y'all gotta live with that karma, okay? I was a good girl for the most part. There was a few things I could have did better. We both had room to improve. We were both young. There's bygones are bygones. If that's the person he wants to be with, who am I to try to force him to be with me, and he don't want to be with me? I also think it took me about 6 months to go to her, but I think it took me that long because when we broke up, he and I broke up with the expectation of getting back together. It was like, okay, we're going on break, which I don't do breaks no more, but we're going on break, and let me just grow as a person, and you grow, and then we'll get back together. And that ain't never happened. So I did do that. Now, there's a plot twist on this story, but this story got a little long. I'm going to have to edit and chop. I was rambling. So I do want to say that she then came to me later, okay? Now, about what or for when, y'all going to have to wait till the next story time. Go ahead, leave me a comment if y'all want another story time. Like the video. Let's run the likes up. And then I'm going to post the next story time of what she said to me when she came to me as a woman. Okay, this is the end of my story. If you made it to the end, thank you for watching. Till the next one. Bye.